Say, how are you doing today? How are you doing today? I am your host, Lacey G Souldier Turner. And today with me, I have a very special guest. You know, she's been doing a lot of great things for the community. We have the wonderful, amazing, talented Senator Karla May. Welcome to the platform.
Hello, how are you?
I am good this morning. How are you doing?
I am outstanding, excellent,
Well, there you go.
thriving.
There you go. Start the morning out great. So for my audience who doesn't know you, can you let the people know where were you born and raised and how was your upbringing as a child?
Oh wow, that's interesting. So, I was born and raised in the city of St. Louis, which is North St. Louis City. At the time I was growing up, North St. Louis City was a mixture of, black and white. And the reason for that at that time was because of the General Motors was anchored in North St. Louis when I was growing up.
Mhm.
And so you had a mixed community there. And so, and then you had the major hospital, which was an African American hospital not far from there, which was Homer G. Phillips. So
Mhm.
that's the neighborhood I grew up in.
Okay. It's the
Yeah.
home you
At the
feel.
time of segregation and desegregation,
Mm.
when, all of those things were happening in our communities. The fight for housing was really happening, affordable housing for, African American people were happening at the time I grew up. So it's a lot of social economic things going on in my community.
And you said when you grow up, you look like you about 28. What you mean? No.
I
All right.
love you already.
So, Miss Carla, man, let me ask you this. So, for people who has never been to St. Louis, who's scared to come here because they hear about the murder rate and all this type of stuff, what can you tell those people who want to visit St. Louis but might be scared to visit?
St. Louis is a great place. We have a lot of jewels in St. Louis and surrounding areas actually. So I wouldn't deter anybody from coming because all of the hype, the media portrays things a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more egregious than they may be. But we do have what I call some misguided youth, and I think those youth, if you want to know, is about 1 to 2% of what's happening, in St. Louis. It's not major, but bad news travels fast, whereas good news don't travel as fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the um, what they call it, the rep that we have,
Yeah.
in our city. So
Yeah, I heard that she dropped the juice. Don't be afraid. Yeah, come on, come on. All
yeah, come on. Don't be afraid. Beautiful place. You'll love everybody that comes, love it, and
right.
end up staying.
Facts. Look, me and Carla, we still alive. You see this?
That's
We've been
right.
here all our lives. So we still
Listen, and I grew up in what they call one of the they call it the roughest part of the city with this
me too.
North St. Louis Walnut Park. So
Yeah.
hey, I'm
All right.
still
Well,
here.
facts. So, Miss Carla, I know you running for election to the U.S. Senate to represent Missouri. I know you
Mhm.
declared your candidacy for the Democratic primary scheduled next year.
Yes.
So, why is that important to you running for that position?
Well, it's important to me because I have been in this arena of, public service for a long time. First of all, I'm gonna give you a little background history.
Okay.
When I was talking about how I grew up, I started off, working in politics very young, you know, and by the time I was 16, I was running the get out the vote for the city of St. Louis and working on several major campaigns, knocking on doors, encouraging people to become a part of the process. So I have been elected and in office in the legislature in Missouri for 14 years. I did 8 years in the Missouri House of Representatives, and I'm in my fifth year in the Senate. And I have a track record of getting things done and accomplished and getting, resources on the ground for the community. And so the reason that I'm running for this office is because I feel that our community don't have time to wait for people to come up to speed. You get me? They need somebody that they can prove in leadership that they know is going to be an advocate for them, for the people. And that's what I've been. I've been an advocate for the people. I've been, helping communities, helping neighborhood organizations maintain their stability so that they can keep on changing the lives of the people on the ground. I always say I'm a rank and file person. I've been in labor forever, and I was a rank and file labor worker, and so I understand what the need is on the ground. And not only do I understand it, I know how to get the resources where they need to be.
Nice, nice. So let me ask you a question. What do you think maybe you can do or anyone can do to help gun violence? Because I know that is a big plays a big part in a lot of the crimes that goes on.
Yes. So here in Missouri, they want to blame, gun violence on all of these young people. But what has happened in the state legislature has been the dismantling of gun laws in the state. And people say, well, the laws, don't affect the criminals, but we're the only state that does not have an age requirement to carry a weapon.
Mhm.
And so I think that has exacerbated the exploitation of young Black men. When you looking at 40 and 50-year-old gang members putting AR-15s and AK-47s in the hand of 12, 13, and
Right,
14-year-olds, that's exploitation.
right.
That's profiting off of your lack of knowledge and your youth, and giving you a vision of something when you should be having a vision of something else, giving you a vision of something bad where you should be having a vision of something else in the future. you
Hmm.
know Shortening your lifespan. So they have removed the age requirement. Not only that, they removed the conceal and carry permit requirement. They passed stand your ground law. you
Hmm.
know and then they removed the enforcement power of the police to enforce any gun laws in the state. So
Right,
if you do all of that, the legislature, the Republican led legislature, since I have been in there, is responsible for the violence that's taking place in our cities, in our urban cores. That's who is responsible for it. And I think common sense gun legislation is not a threat to your Second Amendment right, because
right.
we need to protect our communities, we need to protect our families, and it's going to take a cohesive approach, because we in these communities, we as parents, we as community leaders, we
Mhm.
have to come together and wrap our arms around these kids and try to catch them when they're 9 and 10 years old, and creating a pathway for them to have success. We need to write roadmaps for them to follow and make sure that they stay on those paths. And then we need to put some things in place to what we call running interference for
Mhm.
them, so they won't deter off of that line.
Mhm.
As a parent raising a son, at times I had to run interference when I perceived him doing something. Mamas, we run interference. We be
Yeah,
like, you're not going over there today. You're going to go over here to this grocery store or whatever. I've
yeah,
set it up for you to go sit up. You know what I'm saying? You
yes.
run interference. And
Hmm.
that's what we have to do in our communities, run interference to prevent these kids from, becoming involved in the stuff that's happening in the communities.
Okay, man. I see what Carla May saying. She's speaking passionate. I felt the passion. I felt it now. So let me ask you about this one thing that I always see, like the president and stuff. He always sign bills like give 6 billion and all this to other countries. What can we do to help our homelessness problem that's going down? that's been, I guess, a great issue for real. Like, like I live downtown and I see the homeless in tents and everything, and it just seemed like it's been like a big problem, and they people do not care. They just try to push them aside. So what can be done, do you feel, to help the homelessness?
So first of all, we got to go back to what you said at first. Um, you know, we have to look at the record. When we're talking about this president and this administration, this administration has put more money on the ground that goes directly to cities than any other administration historically.
Mhm.
You get me? So the money is there, but you have to read the legislation and the fine print to know how to implement and access the dollars.
Mhm.
And that is based on your leadership in your cities and your communities. You get what I'm saying? So that's why leadership is important, because we've passed the infrastructure bill, the dollars. They have broadband, the largest broadband, the largest environmental protection, all of those things. And if you read those bills, you got the Rescue Act. You have all of these historical things that have been done. So the financing and the resources there. Now we have to talk about leadership and
Mhm.
the ability of the people that are in leadership to put those dollars where they belong. You get
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it comes to your mayors, directly to the mayors in the city, is what the Biden administration made sure of, so that the governors in these Republican red states wouldn't detract from the funding getting to the ground. You get me? So some major cities and major counties have had these resources go directly to them. Now we have to talk about what is our local administrations doing in dispersing these resources.
Mhm.
That's what we have to talk about. And everybody talk about the homeless problem. Let me tell you, I've been talking about this for a long time. Nobody has bidden yet, but when I get in a certain position, because it has to be implemented in the local area, when we're
Right.
talking about solving the homeless problems, this is a partnership. And let me
Mhm.
tell you, let me outline that partnership for you.
Okay, let's get it.
This partnership will take place with the universities in our cities. You get me? Private sector corporations and the city itself in which this homelessness is occurring. You
Mhm.
get me? So when I'm talking about that, the universities have what they call practicum hours that has to be fulfilled. So if I get my degree in social work, I have to do a certain number of practicum hours, meaning on the ground in the community of or the area in which I'm working. I have to fulfill these hours before I can complete my degree. Also in psychology, mental health. If I'm getting ready to be a psychologist, it's going to be a supervised psychologist that I have to work under in order to fulfill those hours before I can complete my degree. They also have the same thing with residency for doctors and nurses. All of these people can work together to solve the homelessness. And
Mhm.
now let me lay it out for you. The city has all of this infrastructure
Okay.
and they have infrastructure dollars.
Mhm.
And it's money out there for HUD money that will cover the housing of the homeless.
Mhm.
So if I take one of my buildings that's deteriorating in my community and turn it into what I call a 100-day turnaround for the homeless, that means when I walk in on the ground floor, you get me? I
Mhm.
get new clothes. I get to take a shower. You follow me?
Yep.
Then I go into and have a psychologist evaluate me, because I got some psychologists that need to fill some practicum hours. You get me? Supervised by another psychologist. Then I meet the social worker. You
Mhm.
follow me, to find out who my family is. These social workers got to fulfill practicum hours as well. You got me?
Yeah.
Then I go in here with the residency and the nurses and get my, evaluation, my health evaluation.
Mhm.
All of this take place on the intake process. You follow me? Then I go connect with some people that do some job placement,
Uh,
find out what my
yeah.
history is. If I'm a veteran, connect me to my veterans resources and other resources. This is what I'm talking about. That's what you do when you come in. And
Mhm.
then when I get all of that and we get a file set up, then if I took in one of these buildings, created some rooms and some houses and put some resident advisors on each floor, I get a bed, that I'm gonna be in for this 100 days with a locker and something to hang my, clothes and lock up my belongings. In this 100 days, I'm going through these evaluations and these meetings to get me prepared to be independent and no longer be homeless. If I have to get a tiny house built or something where I can sustain my own self, that's the answer. That's the whole plan. And we can do it. And there's no reason why we can't do it, because all of these cities have all of these universities with all of this money, and these cities have these resources, and HUD have the money for housing. We can do it, and I think that's the plan.
Look, man, I ain't never seen nobody lay that out like you just did. Perfect. You know what I'm
All
saying?
right.
Perfect to the T. So, Miss Carla, let me ask you this. So, you know how people, a lot of the people like, oh, politicians as we talking, they ain't, they just trying to get in office. What would you say separates you from other politicians?
What separates me from the other people, I'll just say the other people that are running in my race or the other
Mhm,
people that are here on the ground, what separates me basically is experience and knowledge.
mhm,
You get me? And a proven record of doing what I say that I'm going to do. You
mhm,
get me? So that in helping others, putting resources where they supposed to be put. I challenge anybody, you get me, to look at my record and say, what have I done?
mhm,
Because the people around, I'm just going to be quiet and let the crescendo of people that I've supported since I've been in office speak.
mhm.
So that's what separates me from the rest.
All right, there you have it. So, okay, you've been doing a lot of great things. Like I said, on your journey, what would you say has been your greatest challenge?
You know what my greatest challenge has been? People that I serve with having an attitude of service instead of power.
Mhm,
Understanding that we are here to serve people and that the people's interest comes before party politics, that policy comes before party platforms. That's been my greatest challenge.
mhm,
Understanding, helping people understand that if the policy is good and it's going to be a positive impact on people, we can vote for the policy regardless of if it's a Democratic person with the legislation or a Republican person with the legislation. You
mhm,
get me? So that's what we're finding in our country, that there is good ideas and good policy out there that can impact people in a positive way. But because we're so divided along these party lines, we are being ineffective in our communities and in our states. So
mhm.
my biggest challenge is getting the people that are elected to see that the people that we represent come before party platforms and party policies.
Mhm. Carla, I see the passion in you. Man, y'all better vote for Carla May. I better, like, look, she keeping it real. So I love that passion, and hey, that's all the people want to for real. So, switching along with that, what would you say has been your greatest accomplishment?
Well, I have a lot of great accomplishments. So, I mean, I can't point to one
Like,
good thing
nah.
I have served. So, I'm just going to say one of the things that I'm proud to have been able to do
Mhm,
is to fund, agencies and entities that
mhm,
have been able to change the lives of the people on the ground.
mhm,
For instance, we created a fund that was that challenged the most uh, poverty stricken areas of our state. And that fund, I called it the Deteriorating Infrastructure and Poverty Fund, basically.
mhm,
We call it the 988 Fund. And basically it addressed areas of poverty. And so it took non-for-profit organizations that were operating in those areas, gave them funding so that they can continue to help, because some agencies on the ground that's actually doing good work, but they don't have the funding to continue that work in your community.
right.
And so them agencies get shut down in some of those poorest communities, and
Mhm,
then the people don't have anywhere else to go. So
mhm,
we funded that agency. I funded a lot of educational agencies that train people in education, technology, things like that. So those are the great accomplishments for me, is being able to put those resources in place and seeing the fruit of those resources.
Okay. Do you have anything coming up that you want to promote?
Well, I'm always promoting this. I got a fundraiser coming up on November the 7th.
Okay, so you
But if
gotta
you want
promote
to
that, gotta
support my
promote that, gotta get that what.
that's right. In order for me to get you the information to let you know what I've done, it requires you to mail. And everybody know that you can't put a letter in the mail without paying for that stamp.
There you
That's
go.
right. So, and I can't put a postcard in the mail without paying for that stamp.
That's
So,
right.
if you want to donate to the postcard or the delivery of information, just go to karlamay2024.com. karlamay2024.com if you want to support our campaign. And we don't care. You can give $2, $3. You can buy 2 stamps, 1 stamp. We just need you to help us out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And look, that's Carla with a K, not a C, y'all. So
that's
don't be
right.
typing the C up. Go send the money
That's
to the wrong person. No.
right. That's right. Carla with a K. karlamay2024.com.
Okay, so she got that coming up. What day is that again?
November the 7th.
November the 7th. Okay.
If you can't be there, just go to karlamay2024.com.
Okay. Well, I think you probably just said this, but I'm gonna ask anyway. How can the people get in contact with you if they want to learn more about
Absolutely. Basically the easiest way is through my website,
you?
because we got it set up where you put your information in there and to volunteer or whatever, and we get right back to you. We contact you. So that is the best way to get in contact with us, is through that website. Or if they want to just call me personally, they can. My number is 314-749-9985. We want serious calls in reference to
Yeah,
the
none
campaign
of the
and
stalkers.
support.
No stalkers. Don't be stalking. Call. Hello, this number work for real? No.
Absolutely. So, that's what we want. Yes.
Okay, so it's called my last question that I like to ask all my guests. When it is all said and done and you are long gone from this earth, what is it that you want the people to know about Karla
That she was a servant leader.
May? Like that, well put. All right, Miss Karla May, I appreciate you. I know we probably gonna get you back on here in the future. Thank you for the interview. You dropped a lot of jewels, a lot of nuggets, and you 25 years old. I already know you ain't got
All
a
right.
but I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. Thank you very much, though.
Thank you for the interview.
No
Thank you for
problem.
having me.
Okay, no problem. And I'll let you know as soon as we drop this article and the interview. Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
bye
Bye
bye.
bye.